This is a tutorial to make a bead wrap lanyard. The first thing you're going to do is wax your thread. I forgot to do this on camera, but you just hold the cube on the length of your thread. You're going to do about an arm's or a wingspan of thread and double knot it at the end. You're going to start on the short end where the marking is, and you're going to put your thread through the paracord twice just to secure it. Then you're going to wrap it around the paracord at least 3 times. You can do more, you can do less. Just don't pull it very tight because that's going to make the width of the paracord thinner, and you'll notice that when you're laying your beads on it after. Once you wrap it, just go through the paracord again to hold that wrapping in place. Then you can cut the end and just melt it, and if you put your finger down, then it'll just smush it flat onto the paracord. Now you're going to add your beads onto your string. So I did this in groups of 9 because it takes 9 beads to wrap around the paracord. So there is 27 of the dark orange, 18 of the yellowish orange, and 9 of the teal. Then I like to hold this in my mouth like the thread, and then use my 2 fingers to roll the beads onto it. Holding it in your teeth definitely works the best. You don't have to do that because, I don't know, maybe you think it's gross, but it definitely works the best because then you get a good even tension. Now to hold down your wrap, you just go through right close to where that last bead stops and go through the paracord. And then pull it tight. Don't pull too tight, but tight enough that the bead won't move. Then you go with your needle and you go back through the paracord, and where the needle is coming out of, you want it to be right beside that last bead so you can go through it. So when you're adding your next row, it's going to look like it's all connected. Then you just continue the pattern. So for this one, I am doing dark orange, lighter orange, teal, lighter orange, dark orange. And so you can see me adding those beads there, and it's the same process over and over from what you just saw. This is pretty simple. The biggest thing is that you want to make sure that you're not putting too much tension when you're rolling it, or it'll lead to gaps. And when you're securing it as well, you want to be mindful of where your needle is going in and out of that paracord, because that will show if you put it in the wrong spot, because it can make your beads gappy. So once your string is too short and you're ready to tie it off, you do the same thing to tie it on. You roll it around a few times, then you go back in and out, and then tie a knot or 2, and then that'll be secured. Once your knots are on, you can grab your scissors and cut it close to the knot, and then the lighter, and just melt it and push it down with your fingers so it lays flat to the paracord. So to tie the string on, I pre-waxed this thread, tied a knot, and threaded my needle. So you're just going to do the same thing where you go in and out through the paracord, wrap it, again, go in and out, being careful not to wrap it too tight. Then you're going to go through that last bead, so then there's it's seamless. Make sure that you're cutting your thread and singeing it as you go, so then nothing's poking out and you don't have to deal with it later. Then I just continued my pattern until it was as long as I wanted. I do have markings on the paracord for where you should stop. I stopped a little bit early because I felt like this was as long as I wanted it, and you can make these way shorter, even halfway. You'll just have to cut the excess off if you want it to be like a zipper pull, but you tie it off the same way. You wrap it around, put the needle through, and then tie some knots. Then again, you cut it by the knot and singe it and push that melted bit onto the paracord. So now the next step is that we are going to put the key ring on. So I'm just tying 2 knots onto my thread. And then I'm holding it up to see where I want that key ring to go. So I'm putting it through one side of the paracord, then measuring it to see if that's quite as long as I want it. It's a bit too long for me, so I'm just cutting a bit off, and then I'm going to melt the end of the paracord so it doesn't unravel and add my key ring. Once you add your key ring, you're going to put the needle through all 3 pieces of paracord, and then you're going to wrap around it tightly. And same thing, you're going to go back in through the paracord just to secure it. I do this quite a few times because I don't want it to unravel, and I don't want one end of my paracord to be thicker than the other once I add my leather. So I'm just quite thorough with it. I make sure that everything is secure and nothing's going to unwrap. And I go through the paracord a few times just to make sure that if anything happens to some of my wrapping, then the other wrapping will still be intact. So now to tie it off, I'm just picking a stitch, like one of the loops that I went through, and I create a loop, put my needle through it, and pull tight. I'm going to do this 3 times to make sure it's secure. This is the easiest way to tie a knot in my mind, is to put your needle through a stitch. Then I just cut it, singe it, and that step is done. So now I'm just measuring my leather to see if it's the right length. It's a bit long, so I am going to cut it. It didn't look bad long, but again, this is up to personal taste how thick you want the fake leather piece. And now I'm going to sew that down. So I tied a knot at the end of my thread, and now I'm going through the paracord because I don't want this leather piece to slide. So I'm going to have it attached onto the pleather and onto the paracord. This way too, your knot and your thread are hidden in the leather. I've made these so many times, and each time I sew this on differently, so this is up to the way you like it. Sometimes I fold it over, sometimes I do a different stitch. This is up to you the way you want it to look. This time I am doing a blanket stitch all the way down to just secure it. Now that I'm at the end of the pleather, I'm going through the paracord again, and it's just going right into the middle of in between the pleather and the paracord, and this is where I'm going to hide my knot. So I'm going through the paracord a couple times just to make sure it's secure and it's not going to move around or slide off. And then I'm going to do that same trick where I slide under a stitch and then go through the loop and pull tight, and do that a few times to make the knot. You could just tie this off on the leather and it would still look fine. This way I just find that it's hidden and I don't need to worry about the leather moving. Then just clip it, singe it, and ta-da! It is all done. So now I'm just going to show you some spots where I made the mistakes that I spoke of in the beginning. So there's some gapping in the beads. You can see it in a couple spots, and that's from me having too much tension. And where I'm pulling here is I put too many rows of beads on because I was impatient. And so now the beads are loose. So you don't really want to go more than like 5 or 6 rounds around the paracord.